Hello and welcome to this IFS Cloud video. In this video we will interact with tables within the application. I will be using the Sales Part window. Let's click Search to populate some results. In a previous video we went over how to search and filter. In this video we will focus on the right hand options we have available. Firstly we will discuss view mode. Options available are List View, Table View, Chart View and Card View. Chart View and Card View are only available on certain pages. Today we will be discussing list and table views. I'm currently in list view, hence why it's not visible. A list view is a specific view of multiple records shown as a table. However, no horizontal scroll or grid lines will be displayed. The information displayed fits to the specific device in use. If I was using a tablet or a mobile phone, I would see less columns than I do on my desktop. If I zoom in and out of my browser, I will show you how adaptive the application is. Zooming in will reduce the amount of columns I see, and zooming out will bring the columns back. A table view is a specific view of multiple records, with both horizontal and vertical scroll enabled. Within table view, a column can be frozen. This means that the information is always shown when scrolling to the right hand side. You can do this by hovering by the right of the attribute, selecting the 3 vertical dots and selecting freeze. I will execute this on the sales part description. As you can see, when I scroll to the right hand side, the frozen column and columns to the left of it will stay at the beginning of the page. You can unfreeze the column if you wish by repeating the steps but selecting Unfreeze. On both list and table views, you have the ability to add and remove columns. To remove column directly from the table, you can hover over the right hand side of the attribute and select the 3 vertical dots and select Hide. I will hide the site. You can also execute the hide and add more columns in by using Column Chooser. You click on the list settings icon and then select Column Chooser. The fields shown on the left are not visible within the table, however the fields on the right are. If you wish to add or remove a field from display, you can select the field and then either add or remove by using the middle buttons. You can also move fields left or right by selecting the required fields and selecting one of the 4 right-hand buttons. I want to add the site back into display, so I will select Site and I will click Add. When I add it to display, it will automatically be at the bottom of the list. If I want to move it up, I can select 2 options. I can either move it up, which will move it up 1 space, or I can select Top, which will move it all the way up to the top of the list. This is what I want to execute. I can also hide a field that I don't require. So create SM object I want to remove from display. I will click on this and remove. We can now see if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, create SM object is now on the left hand side. If I scroll up to the top of the list, we will now see site. The top and the bottom of these lists are left or right. Any items at the top of the list will appear on the left hand side of the table. Same with the items at the bottom. If they're at the bottom of the list, they will be on the far right hand side of the screen. Once I'm happy, I can click OK. We can now see site is the very first column that I can choose. Now let's change to list view. On list view, you can use column chooser in the same way. When you first click column chooser, you might be on the default setting. If you're on the default setting, the columns that are visible have been set by IFS. If you want to configure this, you need to ensure you click on the Configure Columns Manually radio button. Adding and removing is the same process by selecting the attribute and adding or removing and moving up and down. The difference you will see on list view settings is on the right hand side selected for display. You may see a red dashed line. Any attributes below this red dashed line means they are visible on the display, but this is depending on your resolution. If I zoom in, you will see more columns appear below the red dashed line. This means that based on my resolution, I can't see these 4 columns, but they are visible on my table. If I zoom out, we can now see more is added in. And if I zoom out fully, we can now see all columns are displayed. So again, I want to add site on display. So on the left hand side, I click on the site and I add it to the right hand side. We can now see site appears at the very bottom, not in my display. I always want site to be available. So I'm going to click site and select top. This will mean it will be the very first column that I see when I navigate to sales parts on list view. Once I'm happy, I can click OK. There is an additional setting within list view settings, which is save configuration for all devices. It states my current device is desktop. If I enable this, this will cascade all the changes I have made to all devices that I access IFS from. If I leave unchecked, the configuration that I have made to list view settings will only come into effect when I log in using my desktop. If I'm on my mobile phone or a tablet, my list view settings will stay unchanged. I'm just going to keep it as it is just now. I will click OK. Next, we have the page size. You can select the number of records you wish to retrieve. Setting it at a lower value will save time when searching. However, to view more records, you will need to scroll down and select Show More. Presently, I have it set at 960. Let me set this back to 24. Once you change this setting, you will have to make a hard refresh on your browser. If I then execute the search and scroll, we will see that I have to show more than 24. And then when I scroll down any more, again, to show the next 24, I need to select Show More. But let's select 960 again, and then do a hard refresh. If I then populate the screen again and scroll down, we can see all the records are now visible. The next icon we have is the export option. This allows us to export the records to Excel. With no records selected, we can export all rows. The options we have is export all columns for all rows, or only the visible columns we have. If I select a record and export, we can see more options as available. I can export the selected rows, again, visible columns only or all columns, or again, export all rows. I also have the option to copy the selected rows as well. The next thing I'm going to talk about is formatting. This allows us to color an attribute or rows based on conditions. To access formatting, we will click on the list settings and then select New Formatting. To color a specific attribute, you firstly select the attribute you wish to color. This can be entered in the Formatting attribute. I'm going to color the sales part number. You then add a condition. I want to color the sales part number if the inventory unit of measure is equal to each's, EA. So within the column, I'm going to select inventory unit of measure. And on the drop down, select equal. And my value is EA. And I'm going to decide I'm going to color the column orange. Once I've selected my formatting attribute, my condition, and my style, I'm going to click Apply. We can now see that specific sales part number attributes are highlighted orange, and that is because the inventory unit of measure on these are eaches. If I want to color the entire row rather than selected attribute, I can go back into the list settings and manage formatting. You can see that the formatting that we have created is stored within here. I can select on it and then click the edit icon. We can now see within the style there is an option that says apply to entire row. This essentially means that the formatting attribute is ignored and the entire row is coloured. You must still populate the formatting attribute or there will be an error appear. I will click apply to entire row and then apply. Once I go back to manage formatting, I will click OK. We can now see that the full row has now been coloured orange. Thanks for watching this video and stay tuned for the next one.